been talking about churches in Northumberland.
We have indeed.
And especially North Northumberland, who we thought we knew lots about, but we've heard about a rather special church.
It's in a tiny wee place called Old Bewick,
Right.
and the church itself is called Holy Trinity. It's not easy to find, so we've got to get our explorer boots on and go and look for it. Do you fancy it?
Oh, that would be good. Really interesting.
Yeah.
I've heard some quite exciting things about it.
Up for
so
John?
We'll go and have a look. Let's
Yep.
go.
Remember, when this church was built, Africa and India wouldn't necessarily have been discovered, so they wouldn't know.
No, I suppose not.
They wouldn't know about
there must
tigers.
be a meaning about cats and churches.
But they remind me a lot of the carvings at Roslin. You know Roslin Chapel?
Yes.
It was featured in the Da Vinci Code.
Yes.
And there's some really stunning carvings there, and nobody quite knows what they mean.
No. And we don't. And it doesn't look. It looks very sort of funny and like having a bit of a joke.
Well,
really,
it could have been a mason, one of the builders, having a bit of a laugh.
Yeah,
Who knows?
definitely. Definitely, it's really interesting.
But have you seen the effigy here?
No, I haven't had a look at here.
That apparently is a 14th century effigy. Now it's a recumbent woman. But what I would love to know, who is she?
No, she's beautiful. It's very serene.
Yeah, yeah.
But usually they would be on top of graves of famous people if you went to churches. The aristocracy, kings and queens would have these on top of them. So it must represent somebody that was quite influential in the area.
She must have been important to be here.
Definitely.
And I wonder if she might have been like an early patron of the church.
Perhaps, definitely.
As a financial sponsor. But what I love when I see these, and sadly there isn't one here, you often get them with a wee dog lying at the bottom of their legs.
Really?
And they're quite often greyhounds, and they're just lying there very serenely with their paws
beautiful,
crossed.
majestic animals.
Yes. So she doesn't have her wee dog with her, but there she is.
She must have been obviously had a bit of wealth because to get a stonemason and the size of stone wouldn't be very cheap, and to get that stone mined from her to be brought to the church.
So there's another mystery in this church. Who is she?
Yeah.
We should make up a name for her.
I know.
What do you think? Eleanor.
Lady
Eleanor. Yeah.
She
What do you think?
probably
Lady Eleanor?
Eleanor.
That's a perfect name for this. And she must have been the wife of a knight.
Definitely.
Yes.
A Northumbrian knight.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, Eleanor, it's so nice to meet her.
And she's beautiful, isn't she? In a beautiful, her clothes are beautiful.
Oh, Lady Eleanor.
Yeah. I think she was called Eleanor.
What do you think, Eleanor? Yeah. This is, to my mind, one of the prettiest churches. It's tucked away. You really have to work hard to find it, but it bears making the effort. And what I really want to show you is this stunning ceiling down at the bottom of the aisle. I don't know quite how to describe the colour. I think it might be Madonna blue, but whatever it is, it's exquisite, and I think it must be one of its kind. I don't think there are too many like this in England, never mind Northumberland.
Look at the beautiful. Look, it's quite plain, the altar.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was a replacement for something that went on top of this. Be a later edition, quite plain and.
But if you think this church fell into total disrepair.
Did it?
Yeah, yeah. And the roof came off, or the roof was taken off, and it was only in the 1800s that it was re-roofed and the church was brought back into use. Well, so apparently, yeah.
Where was it out of use? Was that?
Well, I suppose after the Reformation.
I thought obviously it was at the Reformation.
Yeah.
It'd been empty and not used for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, this could have been used for cattle or, anything at all.
Yes.
And then someone had the foresight and the money to think, well, this is a beautiful building. Let's put the roof back on and let's start using it again. Because it's really special, isn't it? It's a lovely place. This, Adrian, I don't know if you know this word, Pustinia.
No, I don't.
Now, I did a wee bit of research, and it comes from the Russian, believe it or not, and it actually means desert, a desert. Now, when you think of a desert, you think of an arid place. You think of a wild waste of nothingness. But in this context, the desert means solitude, silence. So this is a place for silent contemplation. Look, what do you think of this?
This is what a surprise!
Isn't
Didn't
it
really
just?
expect this.
Yeah.
It's been set up lovely to sit and contemplate.
Yeah.
The prayer mat.
And if you needed a bed for the night, this is a truckle bed and it drops down.
So you've got somewhere to sleep.
Yeah. So the idea of these, it's an old Orthodox tradition. And apparently people who wanted somewhere to come and be silent and to contemplate and to pray, they would use these little spaces to get away from the world,
I
to
have
escape.
I've heard of bothies, but not
Well, think of it this way. This is like a spiritual bothy.
spiritual bothy, definitely.
And I tell you, the first time I ever came here, there was a bowl on the table, and it was full of crisps, digestive biscuits, chocolate bars. So people had left like little gifts for travellers.
And people write in here what the experience they've had.
Yeah, and if you look here, it's full of people who visited over years and years and years and years.
Stayed over.
And some people have actually slept here.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
Wow.
Look, we found deep peace here. God's presence fills it. We weaved our prayer into the wall, feeling the deep connection between ourselves and all those who've been and all those to come. Oh, that's lovely, isn't
Definitely
it?
has a lovely feel about it, a peaceful feel.
There you go. I mean, you would think it was a garden shed from the outside, but inside it's some really special place.
And it's open to anybody.
Absolutely, yeah. And in deepest Northumberland. That's reflecting the stars on the blue ceiling inside the church.
There's definitely a connection.
Yeah, I feel very peaceful here,
Very
don't you?
peaceful.
Now, when I was doing some research for this, I discovered the most amazing coincidence. This church has an association with Malcolm Canmore, who was the King of Scotland. Now, he was killed at the Battle of Alnwick on the 13th of November, 930 years ago today. So this really is almost like synchronicity, that we're here, we're talking about this, we're researching the church, and it's said that he, through his daughter Matilda, gifted the land that this church is now built on. Look at the glass. Now, what do you think? These two are very simple, aren't they?
Beautifully simple.
Very naive, but then those look much more intricate.
Definitely, because they've got a little piece of that one have been very difficult to do and to be still. They look very original, so they obviously haven't been destroyed.
They do.
Absolutely beautiful colours.
Oh, the colours are magnificent, aren't they?
The one on the left is a little bit faded.
Yeah.
Perhaps it probably gets a bit more sun.
Yeah.
But it's just a beautiful space.
It would be so interesting to know about these windows, because they wouldn't have been original, would they?
I don't think so.
Those windows wouldn't have been stained glass when the church was built, because this is
been...
Anglo-Saxon Norman church.
Yeah.
Would they have had stained glass windows?
No, not. It's quite a recent thing. Well, glass anyway.
Yeah.
And to have glass was quite expensive for a long time.
Now, although this is a relatively small church, the history and the isolation really reflects 900 years of war, conflict and strife. synonymous really with this far-flung part of the British Isles. What I've read about this, it's a plague stone from the 17th century, and apparently then the bubonic plague was rife and people were very, very afraid of contagion.
Of course,
so this stone wouldn't have been in the church, it would have been outside somewhere.
So it's been moved into
marking the boundary between where people had the plague and then other people were safe and they didn't have the plague.
Okay.
And what they did, they would fill that little hollow with vinegar, and then the coins that were being used to pay for the goods were put into the vinegar, and it was like an early form of disinfectant.
That's brilliant.
So the coins would be left there
Yes.
to disinfect,
Yes.
and then they'd be taken from there, and people would believe that they were they were clean.
Which they probably would.
Yeah.
Vinegars are really good for.
So I mean, really,
disinfecting.
it's sort of it mirrors what we did during the pandemic.
And we always think of them as not really understanding germs,
Yeah.
but they they knew more than we thought.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I wonder if this was used later on in the church as some sort of hand washing when people, because of where it's placed right at the front door, whether or not it was still used for washing, hand washing.
You never know. There is a very interesting little nook and cranny here. I'm not quite sure what it would have been originally intended for. I've got a wee story about this. The very first time I brought our grandchildren here, they were slightly underwhelmed. You know, children and churches don't go terribly well together occasionally. But our 3-year-old grandson made a beeline for this little opening and looked at it and said, Granny, look, it's a pizza oven. So we were hugely amused at that. And if that encourages him to go to church, then I'm quite happy that it's a pizza oven.
It's beautiful, that writing.
Yeah.
Because that was probably very old.
I wish there was someone that could tell us more about it. What do you think?
Like a bit more about it. I wonder
Yes.
if anybody else knows anything about it.
Yeah, we'd really love to hear if anyone knows more about this church than we do, and we don't know a lot.
Or the history of why they did this.
Yeah.
Answer
We'd
some
love to hear.
questions. What a really interesting morning. I learned lots, and I would recommend the visit to the church to anybody.
I'm so pleased you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Right, moving on from that, we're going to go to a town quite near Old Bewick called Wooler, where we're going to meet Tracy, who's been doing some rather interesting things with a special new device that we use in the kitchen.